Ei! Silêncio! Câmera! Ação!
Thank you for coming to this conversation, David. It's very. I saw your film in the Lisbon Motorcycle Film Fest in I don't know which year it was already.
Maybe 2 years ago, I think.
2 years ago, yes. And it was amazing. One thing that stood in my mind was 8 years making the film. Right, that was just bang me on my head. 8 years making the film. 8 years, come on, so long, so long. What happened? It was a very long story. But first of all, let me introduce yourself. You're a journalist and a teacher in a university, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Okay, good. Me too. I'm a teacher of photography.
Oh, great.
In a university, a creative university here in Lisbon. And I'm also interested in the motorcycle films. I think it's a very niche genre. So, are you a motorcyclist? No.
Oh, yes.
You ride a motorcycle?
Ride a Vincent.
Oh, very well. How is it?
It's good. It's in its garage, in its sort of winter hibernation. But
of course,
I think next week I will try and bring it back to life and go for a couple of rides. The weather gets better here next week, I hope.
Yeah, for sure. And how about its engine? How you feel about its engine compared to some other motorcycles that you have ridden?
It's a wonderful engine. It's 1,000 cc, as you know.
Yeah.
I think it's the most remarkable thing about the bike, even though they were known for having innovative suspension and they built their own forks from the sort of early 50s onwards. The engine, it really stands the test of time. And, you know, if you want to go on a motorway, you can cruise at 70 or 80 miles an hour, which for something built in, my one is 1947.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. Most cars and motorcycles at the time could just about get to 60 miles an hour. So the fact that this Vincent HRD could cruise above that and reach over 100, pretty amazing for the late 40s.
Yeah, for sure. And how it happens to it was you bought it before or after you make the film?
No, before. And my father had Vincent's. He died in 1990, so I'd always known the motorcycles and I'd ridden my father's one. And then when my father died, my brother took over my father's motorcycle. And I bought a single cylinder one from 1939. And then I bought this one, which was my father's motorcycle in the 1950s.
Wow.
Yeah, I sort of tracked it down and then bought it at Bonham's auction.
Oh, amazing.
It was good to do.
Yes. And that's why you were interested in making a film about Vincent motorcycles?
Yes. I'd always known the story of Philip Vincent and known his daughter, Dee, who's in the film. But the more I thought about it, and I teamed up with my producer, a chap called Jerry Jenkinson. And Jerry worked in the theatre and worked in film, so he could work a camera very well. So we decided, let's try and interview as many people who were still alive who worked at the factory. So these were 70 and 80-year-olds. The factory stopped making motorcycles in 1955. And that was the impetus, really, to record these voices. But also, the more I looked into Philip Vincent's story, the more compelling it became. He grew up in Argentina, very wealthy background, went to one of the top private schools here in England, a place called Harrow in northwest London, and didn't really ever work for anybody else. His father lent him some money. He started the company when he was 19 years old. He dropped out of Cambridge University because he was a rather impatient, quite arrogant character. But you kind of need to be to
for sure.
start a motorcycle company at 19. But the motorcycles were brilliant, but they were very expensive, complex to build. And 1955, they were beginning to look a little bit old-fashioned. And as you know, there were very nice motorcycles from Triumph, Norton, BSA. These were cheaper, simpler, almost as fast. And Vincent just couldn't justify carrying on making motorcycles. So they stopped. And then Vincent's life after that was really one of frustration. He had lots of projects. None of them really ever came to fruition. And he developed a rotary engine, which, as you may know, is in the Mazda MX-5. But he couldn't get the backing to build this. So his life, he started off brilliant, successful, and the arc of his life became sadder, more limited. And by the time he died, he was really quite poor. He was living in what we say over here, council accommodation, but that's basically a flat provided by the local government.
Okay.
So quite tragic. But
quite tragic.
The brilliant bits were very brilliant, the motorcycles.
Yeah. And you were interested to tell that story also in the movie. And how you start the idea of a movie, like the first steps. You were talking, it was in conversation with your producer, and then 8 years in the making. So it started really slowly, gathering authorizations, gathering a script.
Yeah.
I was reading an interview, and you said it was more important to talk about Vincent himself than the motorcycles, because of this story. His story, and also it's not your first movie. It is. We have another one.
No, it is the first one. I'd worked in television, sort of on and off. In the 1990s, I worked on Top Gear. I was a researcher and then a director. Then I went back to print publishing and launched a magazine. Then in 2005, I went back into television and worked. So I'd done some television and written for television. But it's a very different thing to do a sort of 6-minute item on Top Gear to doing an 80-minute film. But, you know, I really wanted to do it. I do like a challenge. I can't really not have a project. But one of the reasons it took so long, several reasons. One was we were doing it between Jerry working in the theatre, me working at the university. We were raising the money as we went along.
Yeah.
So, you know, when we went to California, we interviewed Jay Leno and Marty Dickinson. But we had to raise the money to get myself and Steve, who was doing the camera work. So it was sort of going forward. And then, of course, there was the pandemic, there was lockdown.
Yeah.
So we couldn't really do any filming. We got most of it, I think. We also had restored, which again took a while, these home movies that Vincent himself had filmed on a very good camera, on a Bolex camera. So we had to get those restored because they'd been left in a kind of shed. So that it became, we kind of knew the story. We knew we could tell the story. And then during the lockdown, a friend, our producer in California, a guy called James Salter, he got through to Ewan McGregor. And of course, nobody was working. So Ewan said, "Oh, I like the idea of this. Can you send me the script? You know, I'd like to help you." So even though lockdown, it did inhibit us in some ways, I think it was because Ewan just wanted to keep working. I mean, he loved the story and very, very thankfully he liked the script, which I wrote. But I also think he just wanted to keep working. He's got this sort of Scottish attitude. It's called Calvinist, where you don't like to be idle.
Oh.
And he doesn't. And he does maybe 1 or 2 films a year. He's done theatre work. So we recorded the voiceover with him in his home in Los Angeles, and James, our producer, in a sound studio in Santa Monica, and me on FaceTime video in West London. and that's how we recorded the audio.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. It was great.
And how challenge was to write the script?
It was a challenge to finish it in as much as I had began to, write little bits, because I knew the sort of tone of voice I was aiming for. So, and we'd been making sort of 10-minute bits and putting bits together, and I would do the writing. A friend of Jerry's, an actor, was doing the voiceover for us. But then and then when Ewan said, "Oh, I like the idea of this, just send me the script," of course I had to finish it. And he said, next week is fine. But I spent several nights up very late finishing the script. But you need a deadline, don't you? So
yeah, for sure.
And that's how it got done. And then, lots of series of moments of really good luck. I then came across a chap who's now a very good friend called Russell Ike. He's another Vincent owner, but he's also a brilliant film editor. And so Russell said, I'll help you edit it. So we thought, great. But actually he was just brilliant, because we had the voiceover from you, and we had a lot of good films from Philip Vincent's family. But an editor is so important, as you know. Yeah. And him and Liz Deegan, who he was working with, they just elevated it from being an interesting story to what I hope is, a film that works in the cinema, which is always what I wanted.
Yeah, and it works.
Yeah, it's great to see it on a big screen. That's one of my highlights. Is the one in Lisbon was the biggest one I've seen. I think that cinema there was wonderful.
Yeah, it had a long story, that cinema, and also the challenges of producing it, right? Mm-hmm. Because you still have sponsoring, you have financial from the government.
I did try. I applied to the BFI, which is the British Film Institute.
Yes.
But it's very difficult to get money. So the money was
it
really
because a motorcycle film, or just
I possibly, there is a, how do I put this? There is a trend in government subsidy to a certain kind of cinema, and it tends to be quite issue driven. So it might be environmental.
Yeah.
It might be political. Whereas I was making a film about a millionaire white guy who built expensive motorcycles. I think that's how it appeared on the surface, even though very much what Jerry and I wanted to do was to record these voices from the factory.
Yes.
Which we did. So the money was raised privately from, some Vincent people and some other people. And again, because it was, well, we're going to Australia. I raised some money to go to Australia. We're going to America. We shot in Paris at Montlhéry, the lovely bank circuit.
Mm-hmm.
So it took a while. And as you say, then you've got to get the film out there. Lots of films kind of get made and do 1 or 2 festivals. But I was very determined that it would get on to some major platforms, which it is now, mainly on Amazon.
Yeah, for sure. Amazon. Yeah, so it started, the marketing of the film started by presenting it to motorcycle film festivals.
Yes.
Did you try other kind of festivals?
Yes, we did, and we did okay, actually. We went, it was first shown at a festival in West London, Barnes, which was great. That was a normal Festival. It had feature films, had documentary films, and it won an award there. And then it won an award at the Melbourne Documentary Festival. But we also, yes, we went to the major film festivals, such as the one in Lisbon, Portland, the one in America, and then it was shown at a cinema in Denmark, in Copenhagen, on a kind of just a normal commercial basis, and the same in the UK. It was shown in London, Liverpool, shown in some cinemas in America. So it had not a big, but a cinema release of sorts.
Also, the poster was very interesting. You had a designer behind it?
Well, luckily, the lovely guy, very good friend of mine, Steve Reed, who was the DOP, so he was shooting the film.
Oh.
Steve is super talented. He was a magazine designer.
Oh.
When I met him in the 90s, he was the guy. There was a big magazine at the time called Loaded, which was incredibly successful very quickly. And it had this kind of big visual style. And then I worked on another magazine with Steve. So we kept in touch. And then he got into photography more. And then he started making documentaries in maybe the 2000s. So when I started this film, I said to Steve, will you come and do some filming? Which he did. And then the poster was Steve and myself. And then we got the image of Rolly Free on the motorcycle. We had to get permission to get that. And that was, but it did, you're right. I think I'm really proud of the poster, and I love the 100% cyan, the light blue. It kind of, we wanted it to look modern.
Yeah.
Rather than here's a film about an old motorcycle. So that was really what we wanted to achieve.
Very nice. Also the film. How was the feedback from the film you having from other people?
Very good. We did a test screening. Most films do this. How does it look? Does the story work?
Yes.
When we were near to finishing the edit. But I got a lot of good, very good reception. It was reviewed in The Guardian, a major newspaper.
Yes.
And then I did some interviews, and I'd been driving Facebook and Instagram. So we were getting to, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 followers. And I would, religiously, sort of every week, post something on social media. And I think that really helped. So I did get, because I was posting on social media, every couple of months, somebody would go, when is this film coming out? Why is it taking so long? I thought it was going to be ready by now, but that was, I just had to bite my tongue and say, no, it's on its way, and we're just editing or just doing this, because there's a bit of you that says, well, you make a film, you just see it's not 3 weeks work. So
especially a good one.
Exactly. We knew we could put something on YouTube within a year or two, but it wouldn't be what we felt
what it is right now.
The story justified, which is a big story about an interesting character. And also, having gone to Australia, America and France, we had some wonderful footage of motorcycles. So again, I wanted to, if I could, get that on a big screen. And also the sound. James, who was our American producer, James Salter, is a sound engineer. So he would come along with these really impressive microphones. And just when we were filming the motorcycles, he would strap the microphone on, and you'd get this great sound of a Vincent. Which makes a difference on a big screen, doesn't it? And then you mix it, and you want the sound to go passing. It's very involved, as you know.
Yeah. So did you feel a void when the project was finished? Because 8 years.
Good question.
You really feel a void, right?
No, I didn't. I was ready to sort of take a break. Because I was very proud of it. I felt a sense of achievement.
For sure.
And it doesn't really end because, then we were talking to distribution agents. So there's one set of agents we have in America, and then one in the UK, and then one in Europe. So then you're into the sort of legals of reading contracts. So it doesn't end. And then you have to renegotiate some of the licenses, because as a lot of films do, for the archive footage and the music, you have a license for film festivals.
Yes.
And then you extend the license for worldwide 10 years or 20 years.
Yeah.
But I certainly, I was certainly ready to stop filming for a while. I started filming another documentary, but I did enjoy a year or so of just promoting the film, but not thinking, I've got to book a flight, I've got to book a hotel. Do I need to get insurance, and all the practical stuff that you do when you're filming?
So you just said, the licensing is a little bit complicated to get it and to negotiate and to find.
Yeah.
Especially if the film gets a little bit famous, right? And also that achieves a lot of money, I think, for that.
Well, I'm paying the people who put the money in. But there was a peak period of the big streaming platforms such as Netflix and Amazon, and they were buying a lot of content. Because it took so long to make, I kind of missed the boat there, because they began to realize they can make their own content. So there was an acquisition frenzy for just before lockdown, really. And then they were buying less and less outside content and making more of their own. But that was okay. I didn't, I just wanted to make it as good as possible and pay back the people who put the money in, and, obviously enjoy the moment of creating it. I think if you went into this to try and make money, you wouldn't do an independent film. You would go back to working at the BBC or something like that. It's a sense of telling a story on a bigger canvas. That's really what.
And a film for the story, right? For a legacy. It's kind of
it is, and I'm very proud. We told the story, and obviously I had to really make sure that factually, because motorcycle people sometimes they changed the forks midway through 1952, and you said that they didn't, and so I had to really make sure the nuts and bolts of the manufacturing and the models were correct.
Yeah.
But also, as you said earlier, I always wanted it to be about this person rather than this motorcycle. It'd be a different film. Motorcycles are lovely, but the people who build and design them are more interesting.
Yeah,
I think.
Are more crazy, even.
You're more crazy, and spent all their money on building a motorcycle that, as I think I said in the script, no one needed and few could afford.
Yeah. Why did he make the motorcycle, right? That's the main goal.
I think he was. So I'm just going to put my charger in. He was driven. I think he had this very firm idea of not only what he wanted, but where everybody else was going wrong. He was a very arrogant character, but I think you need to be. So, he was convinced that motorcycles without rear suspension were old fashioned, even though a lot of people were going, you don't need rear suspension, it's dangerous. He was convinced that just technical things like, really long push rods were, again, very old fashioned. He thought these long push rods that a lot of motorcycles had. So he built the Vincent with very short push rods, meant it could rev higher. And he worked with this brilliant co-designer, Phil Irving, who came over from Australia on an HRD, a precursor to the Vincent. So there were these two mavericks who came together like Lennon and McCartney, and one brought a lot in one area and the other one complemented them. So that makes it, I think, a very unique story. Great designers all over the automotive world. But when two geniuses come together, I think you get this special vehicle, and the Vincent is the result of that.
Yeah. Feet on the ground person and a dreamer.
Yes, that's correct.
That's a good combination. It's like you and the producer for because of the film. No?
Yeah, maybe. It was interesting. Jerry and I worked on it for so long, and we're still kind of working on it. I mean, he's pretty much retired now, but we slotted and worked together very well. He is more technical, so when we were doing music cue shoots and looking at transferring the rushes onto, Avid or something, he would take care of all of that, whereas I was writing the words and raising the money. So we did work together well. It was good.
That is amazing when we have a team.
Yeah,
that works together. It's like,
oh, it's great.
Yes,
it's and I think you couldn't do it without these key people. Often two people driving it forward, the same as Vincent and Irving. Yes.
What kind of reference films did you check some previous motorcycle films? What do you know about history of motorcycle films?
Well, there isn't that many. If you think about it, there's a lot of car films. But I had watched On Any Sunday, the Bruce Brown film. I actually saw it at a Vincent rally. Somebody came along. This will be maybe 1974, 75. So before it was on the TV or anything, somebody had I think a 16mm print. So I remember watching that, and I've obviously watched it a lot since. And, I think that's a wonderful documentary, and Bruce Brown did it independently.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was nominated for an Oscar in the documentary category. So I looked at that and listened to the voiceover. In terms of other motorcycle films, as I say, I think I'm a big fan. It's a car film, Grand Prix, which is James Garner, is 1968 or 69. I just sort of stole some of the cinematography, some of the angles, which I did from On Any Sunday as well. It was really just thinking, how do you shoot a motorcycle?
Yeah.
Because you can pan, you can track, and obviously with drones. So we used a drone in quite a few instances. That gives you another option. So I looked at a lot of films, and in terms of the story, I've written a lot of features, so I did know the classic structure of setting up the story, asking some questions. The main character has a period of success or brilliance, and then there's a fall from grace. And then the third act is the motorcycle that we featured in the film sold for $1 million at auction.
Mm-hmm.
So even though Vincent had died, and he died in poverty, the lift of the third act was that he was recognized for building these brilliant motorcycles, and the fact that it was the most expensive motorcycle ever sold.
Yeah.
Was a nice way to end the film and show that, for all his challenges in his life, he produced the world's most expensive motorcycle, which won't happen again because, as you know, the prices have gone down since then. So it's probably going to remain the $1 million motorcycle.
Yeah. Did you try other narrative options, or did you stick to it? Since it's a biography, right? Since it is a person's story, the person is born, is young, and then is adult, and then that's kind of concentrates you on this kind of narrative.
We did. I was conscious that you can't tell a story as if it was a Wikipedia entry. You need to come in with something big and interesting, and you need to, at least at 2 or 3 points, break out of the linear narrative. Otherwise, it's just and then.
Yes.
So one of the ways we did that was, and we sort of thought about this during the editing, was where did we introduce Phil Irving into the film? And we did that, I think, about sort of 15 minutes in. So in terms of Vincent's story, he'd come over from Argentina, he'd gone to Harrow and became obsessed with motorcycles. And then we dropped in Phil Irving, who, bizarrely enough, like Vincent, grew up on this kind of remote place in the middle of nowhere. So Irving was in Australia, Vincent was in Argentina. So they had this parallel. And then that gave us a segue into the Australian side of the story, and we'd been filming there. But there's a lot of consideration of where do we put this bit, especially when you have a motorcycle that's been around for 70 or 80 years. We did have some very nice footage from the 40s and 50s, but obviously a lot of the footage we'd shot. So then you think, how do we bring these two together without it looking clunky and a gear shift that won't work? Which is why we use the on-track footage over the end credits. We'd shot that in Australia. And I was thinking, where does this drop in? And then I thought, this actually is a way out of the film. Great action, good music, and the credits are rolling, but you're actually watching the motorcycles on the track.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Yeah. I always thought that we would need a voiceover, because we did have some tapes of Vincent being interviewed. And we did get them sort of improved in terms of audio. But his voice was a little bit distant. The later tapes, he'd had a stroke, so his voice wasn't very good. They were just not good enough to carry the film. I always thought we'd need, if I could get him before I got him, someone like Ewan McGregor, whose voice would give people a sense of familiarity.
Yeah, for sure. And the depth of his voice, and also the how you say the accent, right? The accent is kind of.
Oh, it's a lovely voice. I've spent obviously so long listening to it, but I'm kind of working on making a podcast out of the audio of Ewan.
Oh, good.
And it really works. If you just listen to it, I mean, you just do it when you watch the film. You just close your eyes. You go, this is such a wonderful voice. It's like a musical instrument.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get that going maybe over this year, and put it out as a sort of 3-part podcast.
Oh, that's amazing.
But obviously you have to do some editing, because if somebody pops up and starts talking in an audio format, we don't know who they are. There's no visuals, there's no caption. So I need to work out how that would work.
Try and error.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
A little bit.
And I do tend to work on paper, because, I've been a journalist since the 80s. So I find it good to print out transcripts, print out the voiceover script, and literally sit there surrounded by bits of paper and bring it together that way.
It's a very big puzzle sometimes.
It is. It is. And I find it, I talk to my students about this, and maybe you do as well. If it's a long form piece of work, it's really good to look at it on paper and spread it out, because our screens are only so big. Our phones are smaller.
It's true.
Very difficult to remember the beginning and then look at the middle and look at the end. You can't see the whole scope. So paper's good.
Yes.
Maybe I'm one of the last.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we still need to. Here in Portugal, there was a very strong weather. I don't know the term. Maybe a hurricane or something. and people started to not having phones, not having anything to communicate, not knowing if the relatives are good, are well. It was very scary, and people started to think maybe we should have other things to communicate and to see.
Yeah.
Well, one of the first things, I didn't have internet at home, so I couldn't see movies.
Okay.
Come on, I have to reassure me. I have a lot of DVDs, but DVD players was not so good because it was abandoned there.
Yeah,
it's a good time to go with DVD. So you have the film in DVD, right? You can
indeed. Yeah, you can get the DVD from Duke Marketing, which is a company in the Isle of Man, and they will send the DVD anywhere in the world. And it's all regions, so it plays on different DVD players. I quite like physical, and we did a booklet to go with the DVD, so there's some extra content as well. So that if I think the DVD is quite nice to keep and put on the shelf,
and the poster also. I would
and the poster,
I would love to receive the poster.
Yeah, it's another sort of sideline I'm going to try and get onto this year, is to get the posters printed up so I can, see who wants to acquire them.
Yeah, for sure. I will be one.
Okay.
So one last question will be future projects. What are you?
Yes, I've started a film. I'm going to begin editing it again with Russell Ike, who edited Speed is Expensive. But it's about a woman who was a food writer who died in 1992. Her name is Elizabeth David, and she sort of really opened up British people to European food, and lived this really interesting life. I think she was a spy during the war. She eloped in 1939, and her and her boyfriend sailed through France on the canal network, and then they got to the south of France and war broke out, and she lived this interesting life before she'd written a word about food. And it's a long way from
motorcycles,
but it, in a bizarre way, rather like Philip Vincent, she was a very difficult genius. So she was a very prickly character, and as an English phrase you may know, doesn't suffer fools gladly.
Yeah.
And that was the same with Vincent, but the legacy of both of them is considerable. In Elizabeth David's case, it's this wonderful writing and these wonderful books. So I've interviewed about 15 people who knew and worked with her, and we're going to start putting an early edit together, maybe in the next couple of weeks. But that's my job for the weekend, is to do a paper edit of getting the right quotes from the right people in the right order. And then I go over to Russell's place and we start assembling it.
Amazing stuff. Well, I think I will focus only on motorcycle films. So.
Fair enough. Yeah. So, are you making motorcycle films? I'm not clear.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I have a site called Motos and Films, motosefilms.eu.
Yes. I saw that.
And I have some short stories. I would love to make a feature film. And since in Portugal, the only motorcycle film, the first, was O Capacete Dourado, the Golden Helmet.
Right.
And it was in 2007, and nobody talked about motorcycle film at that time here in Portugal. So only when Lisbon Motorcycle Film Fest started, people were starting to see the motorcycle film in a different way.
Okay.
So I also find some how you say subjects, which is the motorcyclists, not the motorcycle.
Okay.
So I have a film about Elizabeth Jacinto, the first Portuguese woman rider to finish the Dakar. She started on motorcycles and then went to trucks.
Okay. Oh, wow. No, that's good.
Yeah, she's now at Africa Eco Race, just with the organization.
Mhm.
Now she doesn't race anymore. Have another film about one person
Mhm.
that gathered some other motorcyclists and went to social tourism. They give tennis shoes to Moroccan people, to
Okay.
children.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And another, it's Bikers Without Frontiers,
Right.
which they give hospital needs to
Yeah.
Mozambique, also to an
Okay.
orphanage. So
Mhm.
they do a lot of social tourism in motorcycle, which is a
Wow.
very good story as well.
That's a good story, yes.
Yes. And the previous film was with Marina Gianferroni, the Two Wheels on a Crane Camera. So we started like understanding how the motorcycle role was in films, in filmmaking, right? In the muted films, I think the first motorcycle film, a short, was Dreyer, was about Charles Dreyer. The name is They Caught the Ferry in 1948.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and it was a film that he didn't want it to do, but he needed the money, so he made the film.
Yeah.
It's and there was about the importance of lower speeds, and also to the road to have limited speeds.
Okay.
And it's a very, very good film. I will send you the link for you to see.
I'd love to.
It's amazing.
There's a very good British film from the late 40s about Speedway. And it's called Once a Jolly Swagman. Quite a big star called Dirk Bogarde. And it's a good film. It really works. I'll send you the link to that as well.
Yeah.
It's about a speedway rider who gets famous and he kind of loses his way, and the money goes to his head. It's because the speedway riders in those days were like footballers. They were such big stars. And this is a nice film. Great footage on the track.
And this
Wembley.
film, Two Wheels and a Crane Camera, was mentioned in Cinematic Motor Fest in Modena, Italy, because Marina, she's Italian, and she writes for a book editor called La Mala Suerte Ediciones, the Bad Luck Editions, translated.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was very good. Also made a film about a garage here in Lisbon called Unique Motorcycles.
Yes.
They rebuilt a motorcycle from Benelli Say, 6-cylinder.
Okay, yeah.
And the motorcycle was really beautiful. And
they're lovely. Yeah.
And it was about that. But I'm struggling with because I'm from photography. I'm not from writing, right? So I was struggling about narrative construction. I'm struggling about to write because I have to find words sometimes that I don't pop on my head. Images will, but sometimes text will be difficult. And I made also a post-graduation in post-production in film, and also made a film there. And I'm almost finishing editing for this next Lisbon Motorcycle Film Fest. Let's see.
Okay. Yeah, great.
So
they're
that's
busy.
why.
Yeah.
Quite busy. I kind of suffer what you said about Ewan McGregor. I don't like idle.
No, I don't. And I could be sitting in a pub just enjoying the weekend, but I'll be the same as you. I'll be doing some work. I know.
brain still working.
Yeah.
Well, thank you a lot for this conversation.
Okay, it's been lovely.
I hope we're still in contact. Maybe let's do a film together sometimes in time. Why not?
Why not?
And I'm building a production company now, so maybe we could talk in future endeavors.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. All right, Pedro. That was lovely.
Thank you, David.
Take care now. Thank you.
Take care.